This is the fourth video in a series of 4 videos on taxes and the income tax. Most of the earlier videos, or all 3 of the earlier videos, were geared towards more of the sham of the income tax. This is going to be geared more to the shame of the income tax. And of course, you might not know it, but I wrote a book, Tyranny Busters, The Sham and Shame of the Federal Income Tax. Now, dealing with the shame of the federal income tax, we all ought to be ashamed of ourselves because we've accepted this system of slavery. Of course, it's easy to accept this system of slavery the way it was hoisted upon us. It was hoisted upon us that just the rich were going to pay their fair share. They haven't paid their fair share, and we're going to make them pay their fair share. And so that's the shame in the first place. It's because they have more money, we're going to take it from them. So you could build this socialist world. And of course, around 1913, around that period of time when federal income tax, the 16th Amendment was passed, and you had your Federal Reserve banking system, and you had Constitution changed where senators were no longer chosen by the state legislators, but they were chosen by the people directly. This all would help facilitate the shame of the income tax, in that this income tax shamefully takes money from people that have earned it and gives it to people who haven't. This shameful income tax brings us the socialist world that we live in today that's about to crumble. And you add this shameful income tax with the shameful money system that we have, with fiat currency that's nothing more than paper with nice fancy printing on it. It's a fraud. So it permeates our entire society. It degrades and depraves our whole existence, all on this basis of this shameful money and the shameful enslavement of the income tax. Now, guys that are at the top, the guys like Warren Buffett, ought to be ashamed of themselves. The multimillionaires should be ashamed. They don't care about this income tax. In fact, I think Buffett bragged about having to pay less income tax than the secretary paid. So they know how to get out of it. But even if they did, even if they made $1 billion a year and 500 million went into the Treasury as income tax, it's just a fraud. It's a shameful fraud. These guys pass that cost on to the rest of us. In the case if you get rich in the stock market based on this funny fiat currency, is part of the shame as well. So, or if you're a multi-millionaire athlete or movie star, you ought to be ashamed of yourself as well, because what you're doing is supporting the system. You don't have any problem with it. Of course you don't. You make 20 million a year, 30 million a year, 50 million a year, and even if they take 25 million, how many people in America, if they won the lottery, won $100 million, complain that much because the government takes 50 million of it? They're just going to think about the 50 million that they have. But you're part of the slave paradigm as well. You're maybe at the higher end of the food chain, and you can pass the cost of the slavery on down to people who buy the tickets to see your movies or your ball games. But you're still in the slave. You have to report all your personal information or all this information to your slave master, the state, and tell them what you do, what you did on Tuesday or Thursday. And give them all your personal information. If you don't do it, they're going to lock you up because they own you. But you don't care because you're high. You're like an overseer slave. You oversee other slaves. You got the power to control the monetary unit so that you can buy other slaves and make them do what you need them to do. And you give sanction to a system because you don't fight back. Not only is there no law to pay an income tax, it's easier. Why study and find out that there's no law in a country that has our Constitution, that it couldn't make such a law that could tax your labor, tax your very life, your very existence. So, and then It's easy, this shameful system of taxation for, as I explained, how the rich doesn't seem to bother them, they can pass it on. Now, what about the poor, not at the other end of the thing? Well, they love the income tax check that they get back at the end of the year. It's like they might be getting their own money back, or maybe they're getting their earned income tax credit back, which is just another way of socialist welfare redistribution. They don't have a problem with that. And of course, maybe you're in the 100,000 bracket or 150,000 bracket, and because of modern technology, your life is still pretty good. You say kids go to school, we can do all these things. We have our bread and our circuses. So what if we have to, confess all of our sins to the federal government and fill out their slave ownership form at the end of the year and tell them everything they want to know about us? So to what end do we get with all of this stuff? Well, because this is all a violation of liberty. Ben Franklin said that if you give up your liberty for security, you'd end up with neither. Well, that's what we're ending up with here, folks. It's coming apart, it's breaking down, and it's breaking down because government is not securing your rights to life, liberty, and property. It's plundering them, and we all participate in it. And participating in the scheme of the shameful income tax, turn around and redistribute the fruits of your labor, fruits of other people's labor, and just keep passing it on and passing it on and passing it on. In a moral, debased society is what we've created here. And yet, we think that we got the best society on the planet, and we need to pass it around to all the other countries in the world. Well, I guess they're pretty much plantation states as well. So, that's my piece. You want to get a hold of my book, Tyranny Busters, The Sham and Shame of the Federal Income Tax, go ahead and email me at mblibertarian7@earthlink.net. Thank you.